moving around. Baseline for all of my people moving around. Baseline for all of my people moving around. Moving around. Moving around.
Yeah.
What is up, good people? Welcome to Excellence Personified with Elijah L. Harris. I am him, Mr. Elijah L. Harris himself. Man, thank you again for taking the time to join me. I absolutely appreciate it, each and every one of you, each and every time. If it's your first time tapping in and joining me, thank you, and welcome to my excellence community. All right. Around here, I already know that you are worthy of excellence. You have excellence living within you, whether you're ready to ignite it and show it off to the world or not. I'm here to help uplift and inspire and use my voice and my platform to tell stories, use my testimony and others just to inspire, right? Uplift and motivate. So that's what you will get around here. We do it from a realistic point of view through various topics, things that just happen in regular everyday life. But just know and understand you don't have to be Superman or Superwoman to be excellent. You don't have to be perfect to be excellent. But that's what we talk about around here. I'm going to get right in because I can be long winded, but I'm going to try to jump right in on this one. So, this is a solo one. I don't have anybody with me, but I got some things I want to talk about as I record. This is what, Monday night following Thanksgiving weekend. So, I got some thoughts and feelings about how Thanksgiving went down and how I feel about family in general and my family specifically. So I just want to get some things off my chest. This will be one of those episodes where I focus on me, right? I'm going to do some episodes as we go on where I just talk about me, my perspective, my experience, my outlook on life, on any given topic. And for some of these, I think I'm going to categorize them as chapters within the Book of Eli. Okay. Just some quick background on the whole Book of Eli thing. So it was during 2020. I got this idea where I was in kind of a funk. Funk is putting it lightly. I was depressed. Let's be real. I was depressed. And I hadn't been recording or really speaking or putting out content or anything. I didn't want to because I didn't want people to see a negative version of me. And I'll kind of get into that a little bit later too. But I got this idea to really break through that and create what I wanted to call as the Book of Eli, which was taking a lot of topics and my thoughts and feelings around them and breaking them up into chapters, recording videos about all of them, sharing my thoughts and feelings about all these things, and putting it out for the world to see. I felt like that was going to be something that I could kind of put my time and energy towards and let it be a therapeutic experience, but also be a work of art that I could kind of package up and just give to the world and let that be maybe impactful to somebody who might be going through something, but helpful for me too, because I needed something to do. I had some things I needed to get off my chest and some energy I needed to release. I did I wrote everything, but I actually recorded a couple of those chapters and put them out, but I never actually finished that project. And I haven't to this day. However, that doesn't mean all of that content and all those thoughts and feelings and things ever really went away. They just evolved. That was like, 5 years ago, I feel like at this point. So now that I have, my show, it's launched and, I have this podcast and everything, I'm going to kind of create a feature here where I do, write and record some of these books or chapters within the Book of Eli and just give them to you for a couple reasons. One, because I do still want to be real with you as to who I am and why I am the way that I am. But I fully believe that for me personally and for anybody who's going through anything, if you put it out into the atmosphere, if you voice your thoughts, feelings, concerns, your experience, your trauma, whatever has happened to you, if you voice it, put it out there, it strips the devil of the stronghold that he might have over you with whatever it is that is like weighing you down. Whatever you experienced, you take power over it as you speak through it and tell your testimony and maybe tell somebody else and just work through it. But the longer you let it just lay inside of you and you don't touch it, don't speak on it, don't do anything about it, the longer it holds power over you as a person. And I fully believe that. So The idea of doing the Book of Eli has been rooted in that since the beginning. And as a way to connect with you as my audience and, allow you to get to know me even closer, I'm going to try to include some of these chapters on this show here. So that's my long-winded background of what this is and kind of what I'm going to try to do here with some of these episodes. So this one will be spearheaded around family, kind of coming off the Thanksgiving holiday. But just like any other episode, I do want to start by letting you know where I am, excuse me, mentally and emotionally on a scale of 1 to 10. Thanksgiving was a very interesting weekend for me. If I had to pick, a number, I would say I'm at a 7. As you can see, I'm pretty consistently at a between a 6 or a 7. I don't get too high. I try my best not to get too low. I got to work on I got to work on getting myself to a high state naturally, not I don't need anything to help. I got to work on filling up my cup and putting myself in position to maintain somewhere between an 8 and a 10. I don't know how realistic that actually is, but anyway, I'm a 7 this week because Thanksgiving weekend was tough, but it was also really fruitful for me. I enjoyed it, but it was also a bit divided for me, drummed up some emotions that I wasn't really looking forward to, had to kind of process around some family trauma, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit today. But all that considered, the weekend went well, as well as it could have maybe. And so because of that, I'd say I'm at a 7, kind of running off the high of that a little bit, but then at the same time trying to build off of it and maintain some of that, improve on some things that surround some of those situations, and keep it pushing. Just keep it pushing. We are now officially getting into December. And I've always thought that December is really the first month of the following year, right? Just a quick call out and highlight, like, as you get yourself, your mind, your body, your spirit ready for the next year, understand that the next year starts now. Okay, the next year starts now. Don't wait until January 1st to just do whatever resolution you have in place. No, change your habits now. Write it out, your vision for the next year now. If you have changes you need to make to certain friendships or relationships in your life, start plotting that out now. Right? Don't show up and wake up on January 1st thinking things are going to be different when you're not prepared for them to be different. That preparation, that work, that change in your patterns and behavior starts now. All right. So do not overlook that and get ready for 2025 because it's coming. So I'm trying to put myself in that mindset as well. And one thing that I have started to do is define a word for the year. I think one word is way easier to stick to than resolutions and things like that. You can fail at resolutions. And when you do, then you can beat yourself up about it. But if you pick a word and say, you know what, I want everything in my life to revolve around this word. That means things can come, things can go, things can take off, things can maybe fall off and fail or whatever. But that word stays the same. And if you decide, this isn't really, true to who I am right now in this year, I want to pick a new word, pick a new word. But, let that be the the foundation for how you approach this year or next year. So just a quick little nugget on how to approach the next year and how to move through that. I know a lot of people actually use that. I know a lot of people actually use the one word way of thinking. So I'm right in that same boat. All right, let's get back to it. I'm kind of getting off on a tangent. So let's get back to Thanksgiving. Let's talk about family. This year for me it's not even just this year. It's been the past few years as I think the past few years for me has been so this year, leading up to Thanksgiving and the holiday season, probably in general, I had a lot of feelings of angst and a little bit of shame, maybe, but definitely angst, really anxious, really uptight, not knowing how it was going to go, wondering about, whether I was going to feel comfortable or loved or well received by my family, and just how things were going to go. And a lot of that is rooted in the schisms, or that's a good word, schism, the divides I feel like that lie in my family currently. And as I got into adulthood, through, my girlfriend Deanna just kind of pointing some things out to me about my life and my family and how I grew up, and the experience that I've had with my family since becoming a parent, things changed a lot when I became a parent, right? The view that my family might have had of me, leading up to Thanksgiving this year, and I would say the holiday season in general, I felt a lot of angst. And I think I still feel that a little bit now, but just like me wondering how well I was going to be received by my family, like, as we get together and do different things, or, if I'm going to feel loved, if I'm going to really enjoy the holiday season, like, how is it going to go? Am I going to make somebody upset? Is somebody going to make me upset? Like, but it's all rooted in family trauma. And one thing that I've always kind of seen and heard from the outside looking in from other people is that, like, as the holiday season comes around, it can be a tough time. And different holidays in general, as maybe celebrate them nationally or internationally, maybe some people have a different point of view for certain holidays. And it's all based on their experience and what they might have seen, or it's all based on their experience and how they view themselves or people or just life from that perspective. And I'm getting to a place now, at least currently, where I'm in that same boat. Like when it comes to especially holidays that are geared around family, they're tough for me because since I became a parent, I created my own family, which we now have kind of a space where we're trying to kind of build within our own unit, our own nucleus, amongst the rest of my family that I come from, and trying to find the balance there where there has been divide historically between, my nucleus family that I've created and the family that I came from. And for me, I've been extremely family oriented in my own way for my entire life. So now that I've created a family of my own, I was not prepared to be in a situation where there's this type of divide and feeling like my family might feel differently about me based on the path that I've taken and the actions that I've taken. Now, I don't want to sit here and make it sound like I am void of any responsibility in that happening. I think that would be naive of me to say. I'm not going to sit here and say that. But at the end of the day, the feelings that I have around holidays are very much real. And I think I also realized as I grew up that I put the family that I came from, that I was born into, on a pedestal, right? Like, I was born into the first family of our church back in Virginia. And that came with a certain responsibility, right? Growing up in that family, you need to walk, talk, and act a certain way. Not to say that it's a bad thing, but that's what I did. And in the event you kind of move outside of those guidelines and barriers, you're going to feel the effects of it. You're going to hear the effects of it. And I feel like that's what I'm starting to feel and hear now. And I also, in hindsight, have a thought to where, like, maybe my family wasn't the most emotionally present, available, understanding, like supportive in all the ways that I probably needed. I'm a sensitive soul on the inside, and I still am actually, even if I bury it a little bit sometimes. I'm a pretty sensitive person. Like, you got to take care. I've learned to be able to navigate my feelings as best as possible, put them to the side if I need to. But at my core, I'm a very lovey-dovey, touchy, sensitive person. And I think I grew up in an environment that very much wasn't. But at the same time, I put my family on a pedestal and really thought like my family is the bee's knees, and they are. Honestly, I love them to pieces. That'll never change. But that doesn't mean that they are perfect. They are not perfect. I am not perfect. And as I grew up, that idea of being perfect and that idea of perfection, like, it started to crumble. And as it started to crumble, I started to lose my sense of identity, I feel like, because like for me, that's all that I know. They are all that I know, you know? So as I start to see like, well, my family's not perfect. I'm not perfect. Like, whoa, hold on. Who am I? What is going on here? And and I'm in this relationship now with Deanna, and she's looking at me and trying to tell me about me and tell me about my family. I'm like, who are you to tell me about my family? I know what I come from. I know who I am and blah, blah, blah. I had no idea really some of the brokenness that was in me and my view of myself and my family. And I looked at Deanna as a threat to me and my family. Like we clashed on that immediately, almost as she started to kind of get to know me a little bit. But over time, that got me to see my family from a more realistic point of view. And as you get older, then like, or as I won't speak on you, as I got older, I got into a place where I'm like, okay, I need to process some of this stuff. I need to understand like how I grew up might have created trauma, and the way that I think and act in different situations and in relationships is not the best, but it's because of where I come from. And that's tough. And then, as I got older, I'm like, okay, I need to have conversations with my mom, with my grandparents, with the family that I grew up with, to let them know like I love you to pieces, but this is where I am now, and I need you to understand how I got here and how I feel about it. And this isn't to chastise you for raising me a certain type of way. This is just to let you know more about me and who I am and why I am the way that I am, so that we can reach more common ground as I get older, and I can continue to love on you and you can continue to love on me. It's like it's the healthy evolution of relationships that happen within the family. Now I'm sitting here speaking on it as if it is cookie cutter and easy. It is not, because it is a relationship with all these different people that might be in my family or your family, right? Which means both parties need to be open to this evolution and be willing to see both sides or both perspectives, and have grace for everybody involved to be able to work through some of those things and change behaviors if need be or what have you. And those are not easy conversations to have, especially with people that you love that might have hurt you along the way, whether they intended to or not. Those aren't easy conversations to have. I don't like to have those conversations. Sometimes I don't. And when I don't have them, I just put all the feelings or thoughts that I might have or what my life looks like because of it, I put it all in my pocket and I just walk with it. And sometimes my pockets get heavy. And sometimes I feel the anxiety or the stress that comes along with having these heavy pockets or a heavy heart, if you want to make it even more real. You feel like your heart is heavy sometimes when you think about and you talk about your family. There's things you gotta think about, things you gotta work through, things you gotta to understand. Like, why do I feel why do I get nervous when I'm going back to visit my family? There's a reason for that, right? And to put two and two together, professionally, I work in the space of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. I want to focus on that belonging part, right? Because I've done a lot of work and studying on what this looks like and feels like in a professional setting. But the core of it, the core of that concept is the same. No matter where you are, no matter who you're talking to, working with, in relationship with, family, friends, whatever, if you don't feel like you belong in a place or a space or with somebody, you're going to feel it. They're going to feel it because you can't fake that. And if there's something, there's a schism or there's and if there is something that's going on between you and them and you can feel it and they can feel it and it don't feel right, and you value that relationship enough to address it, it's important to address it. Very important to address it. And me personally, I am the type that values family probably more than anything else. And when I say that, I mean, when you are family to me, you are family forever, for better or for worse. I can't think of anybody who I have considered family who I no longer consider family. And I know there are people that may not be able to relate, based on traumatic events. Things might have happened that should not have happened, and you have kind of exiled or blocked them out of your life and maybe even removed them, you know, essentially from your family. I haven't been in that position, and I have not done so. I don't plan on doing so because I feel like all of those relationships, regardless of where they might be or what they might look like right now, are salvageable and they're worth salvaging. Okay, because you can't replace family members like that, in my opinion. Right, you can find friends that can become like family and be a part of your family, but the family that you're born into is extremely valuable to me, and it's worth doing what it takes to salvage those relationships. I have not always done that, and it's not because I didn't care, but it's because I was doing my best to protect myself or survive, essentially. And in doing that, when I was going through that depression that I mentioned years ago, when I was talking about creating the Book of Eli, I pushed my friends and family away for real. Like, I struggled and I went through it really kind of by myself. And I know that my family cared about me then, but I didn't want them to see me or be around me at my worst. And I don't I'm not proud of that because that didn't give them the opportunity to be there for me the way they might have wanted to be. But at the same time, because of that, I am longing for that relationship and connection with my family and friends that I felt like I had growing up. And the key here, and hopefully I'm not bouncing around my thoughts on this topic. I'm kind of all over the place. I haven't even gotten to Thanksgiving. But hopefully, I would say the goal is as you grow and identify areas where there might have been gaps in your upbringing or gaps in your family, the goal is not to allow that to drive a wedge between you and your family. The goal should be to let that be an opportunity for you to connect deeper, to build bridges and, enhance or salvage your relationship and build on it to go forward. It's like, wow, let's think about it this way. This just came to me. Professionally, you get a mid-year review, right? As a parent, your mid-year review, well, I'm thinking about it this way. When your child becomes an adult, say age 21, between 21 and 30, somewhere in there, let's consider that the mid-year review. Okay. You certainly can meet, have touch bases and maybe a quarterly review somewhere in the teen years or whatever. But once they become an adult, between 20 and 30, I will say, that is your mid year review. That is when you get a picture of how the first half of your parental experience or your child's experience of their life, how that went. I think it's important for you to take advantage of that mid-year review because then you can reassess or assess what has happened to this point, what has gone right, what has gone wrong, and what can you improve on going forward. Chances are some things might need to change. And inevitably, it's going to have to change because your relationship from parent to child is going to change as your child becomes an adult. That's inevitable. But consider that your mid-year review. I promise you, this just came to me. But that's it. Think about that, right? Go with it with grace, both ways, between child and parent, child and grandparent, aunt, uncle, whatever the relationship is, go with grace. But understand that that is your mid-year review. Take the feedback, okay? The feedback comes, then you can move forward, hopefully, and continue to build that relationship because it is so important. Now, let me get to Thanksgiving because this is why I believe what it is that I believe, right? Thanksgiving, this is multifaceted, okay? Thanksgiving was amazing for me because I got a chance to get back to Virginia and see my family my mom's side of my family and my father's. I'm gonna get to that too. But my mom's side of my family, I went there first, got a chance to see my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, my mom, my sister, my cousins. Everybody was there. Last year, I missed it and I wasn't there. So I really did want to get down there and see them and just be a part. And And we've had some trying times in my family recently. My great aunt lost her life, or she passed away a couple weeks ago now. And a lot has happened in my family, I would say, recently. So it was good for me to get a chance to see them, put my eyes on them, hug them. Like that means a lot to me. We can talk on the phone, we can FaceTime, but for me, in-person time, very important. So really, really appreciated that time. And it was good to be there, but at the same time, again, I felt a little bit of anxiety going into that because I knew that I was going by myself. I wasn't able to bring, Deanna and Savannah, my nucleus family. I didn't bring them with me. And for somebody who is like, I'm a kumbaya type of dude. I just want everybody to be together and love each other and everything. To not be able to bring my people was hard for me because I just want everybody to love each other and everybody not about that. That's not true. It's not that they're not about that, but we're just not in a spot right now to be able to do that. Now, I went and saw my mom's side of the family down in Virginia first. I left there and I went to visit my father and that side of my family. So my father, his mother, so my grandma, and ultimately my two brothers who I haven't seen in years. I've seen both of them separately, I guess, over the past, like once over the past 10 years, but we haven't all been together with my father, with my grandmother in probably between 20 and 25 years, which is crazy to even say that I'm old enough to say that, on one hand, but it was an incredible moment for me because it signified how far we've come as people. My father, he has battled addiction. He has, been in and out of jail for much of my life. I haven't had a real relationship with him until I became an adult. So that relationship is actually fairly new, all things considered. We talked here and there, as I grew up. He sent me letters and, that type of thing. But I didn't grow up with him. I didn't see him very often. There was probably some trauma built up there. But all in all, Thanksgiving came this year and we were able to get together. My grandma on that side, she just turned 80 years old just a few weeks ago. And so to be able to see her and for her to be able to see her son and his sons all together, all things considered, I've been going through my stuff and, just becoming a father. My brothers are also been going through their stuff and just trying to navigate life, the peaks and valleys of Lord. I ain't gonna put that business on Front Street, but just know that we've all been going through it. We keep in touch as best we can here and there through like Facebook Messenger and, texts here and there. But like to see each other in person, to be able to share a meal and like just chop it up like normal, like family. We have never done that. We literally had never done that. And so while it was painful for me to drive down the road without my daughter and my girlfriend, my nucleus family, I felt like it was worth it to be able to experience that with my father and my brothers. Like that, it meant a ton to me. And the other reason that it was so important to me is because when I talk about what goes into rebuilding and building family relationships and the grace that you have with people and just knowing that like it's not the end until the end, right? My relationship with my father has come a long way from being basically non-existent to a place where I can readily pick up the phone and text or call him, or even drive down the road if I have the time or the ability to do so and see him, and not have to worry about where he's going to be, if he's going to be coherent, if he's going to respond, none of that. This doesn't happen without the grace of God, and for him to be able to put himself in the right community and identify the things that he needed to do to get better, to be available for any of the things that he's receiving now. Like now he's getting the accolades and the accessibility to his family and his friends, and he's living life now, but it just shows me the power of what can be, and that family is undefeated. And although like I sit up here on this podcast and try to speak life into other people, you know, I'm trying to speak life into myself. I've always looked at, my father being this imperfect person, but somebody who at his core, he is connected to God and he does the exact same things that I do in his own way. I am much more alike to him than I ever realized. And I don't exactly know why, because it's not because I grew up and watched him do it. I think he was raised a certain way. I was raised a certain way. And God is so funny to where we both were raised or grew up or lived, I guess, the majority of our lives separately, but we're aligned to come together down the road in a place where like we can look at each other and appreciate who we are, who each of us is, and look at each other and be like, wow, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of how far you've come. I'm so proud of the steps that you're taking to continue to walk. I get really emotional a little bit sometimes. I don't like cry a lot of times or whatever when I think about or I speak on him, but it's so powerful to me to experience and be a part of a relationship that has such a redemption story to it. And this isn't like, these aren't groundbreaking things that have never happened to anybody else on the face of the earth. There are people that experience this, but I'm trying to get you to understand how deeply I feel about it and how big a deal it is to me. And I think it's because whether I realized it or not years ago, I was missing it. I was missing that connection with my father. Like there was I didn't feel like I needed it at the time because my mom was just a rock. She took care of everything. Between my mom, my extended family, and everybody that came along with it. I had a lot of people. And everybody always took really good care of me. Everybody always looked out for me. But I was missing my father. And all the while he was in and out of jail and doing whatever, in the streets, whatever, to the best of his ability, he always reached out to me, whether it's via letter, sending me random stuff in the mail. I never felt like he didn't love me. He just wasn't in position to be there for me. He hasn't lost sight of what he actually wanted or needed in his life, which was his family and to be able to be out and flourish in life. But once he was able to clear and stabilize his life, he could actually look and see everything that he really wanted standing there waiting for him. And that is powerful. That is beautiful stuff right there. And it doesn't just fall out the sky. It takes work. But that's like those are the types of things as to why I feel like family is undefeated. Family is undefeated. Family is trying at times, but it is undefeated. But it's only undefeated if that love is the stream of connection that runs through. As long as that is alive and well and it's pumping, family is undefeated. Boy. Okay. So to put a bow on this, I've gone over the river and through the woods. I want to again acknowledge how holidays can be tough for people. They really can. I am people. Like I feel it. I get it. And if Thanksgiving or any holiday is tough for you to go through based on your experience or just where you are right now, know you are not alone. Know that you are not alone and your feelings are 100% valid. Excellence does not mean perfection. Things are not going to be perfect. You are not perfect. Your environment is not perfect. It ain't going to be perfect. All right. The people you talking to, working with, they ain't perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Right. But the mindset that you go into and approach these situations with, that's where excellence lies. So when it comes to, navigating tough holidays, I would encourage you to approach it and do what works for you. Do what fulfills you. Redefine that holiday to fulfill you. That is a shift in mindset to realign yourself to be able to navigate it and approach it as best you possibly can. Might it still feel hard? Sure, probably, honestly. Like I think it's hard to just completely avoid that thought or that feeling. But at the same time, you have the opportunity to take that time, take that space and approach it and fulfill you. Redefine that holiday to what works for you. And the same goes with how we navigate our family relationships. My approach, my opinion, and this does not have to be yours, is that unless you don't have an opportunity to do so at any point anymore, pursue your family. You only get one. And this does not mean to go and over traumatize yourself. I would say to be realistic about your environment, but as best as possible, pursue your family. In my opinion, I think that is approaching these situations with excellence, with grace, but with excellence. Having a mindset of being like, you know what? Relationships can evolve. People can evolve. I know this might not land with everybody because you don't want to beat yourself up with a brick trying to smooth something out. That's not going to be smooth. But I think there's something to be said about the power of what can be when given the time, the energy, the love, and just pouring into that situation. There's something to be said about it and at least thought about. As I thought about it, when I was thinking about some of this stuff, there's the pain of separation and then the joy of reconnection. And if people are willing and able, it's there. Unless and until someone is dead and gone, you have an opportunity. If you have any experiences that you'd like to share with me, maybe this Thanksgiving was tough, maybe holidays in general are tough, and you just want to kind of have that conversation, I am completely open to doing that. You let me know, or just maybe how holidays have evolved for you as an adult with your own family and just navigating those relationships and what that looks like. Let's talk about it. I encourage you as we, move on from Thanksgiving and get into the end of the year and all those holidays that come with it, go with grace. Go with grace and enjoy your family as best as you can. Enjoy yourself as best as you can. All right. Until next time, you can find me on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, hashtag Easy Speaks, hashtag Ignite Your Excellence, and I'll pop up all over the place. But that's all I got for this one. Until next time, peace, love, and joy. I'ma holla at y'all.